Hello again. So it's Wednesday and this conference is so good. I'm having the best time. And in fact, in some ways, it kind of reminds me to throw back RWA back in the day. I think because it's such a big conference and all the major vendors are here, lots of my friends, lots of authors I know, lots of authors who know me. It's been really fun and it has been go, go, go. And it seems like this time of day, this like 3 to 4 p.m. has been the best time to come back to my room, hang out, get to chat with you all. And I've also been trying to come back to my room. This bottle of water cost me $7, and then I put liquid IV in it because Vegas is so dry. And last night it was super cold, so I turned the heat on and I woke up with like the most dry throat, mouth, nose, all of it. So I drank like a whole one of these in like 30 minutes when I woke up. So let's talk about how it went yesterday, just to kind of give you behind the scenes. I feel like as the event goes on, the less I'm recording on my small camera, just because I'm so invested in conversations and it feels awkward to pull out my camera and be like, can I record this conversation? Even though I'm not really recording audio, I'm just recording the event. So I don't know how this vlog will turn out. I'm trying to remember to get footage when I can, but let's talk about yesterday, since my vlogs are like a day behind. Yesterday was Tuesday and I had my first speech or presentation of the conference. So that was at 11. So first thing in the morning was Joe Solari, who is the main showrunner for this particular conference, got up and spoke about the importance of achieving what he's calling the Triple Crown in publishing, which, if I can remember correctly, is basically getting your book published, getting your book marketed, and then what was the final thing? Like getting your book published, getting sales, and then being happy, I think basically was the Triple Crown. I can't remember all of it, but I tried to write it down, remember it. So we'll see how my memory goes. But it was very good talking about, we're all on different pieces of our journey as authors. There's some people who aren't yet published or finished their first book. There's people here making 7 and 8 figures as an author, which blows my mind. So everywhere in between. And I think he said there were about 1,000 people, 1,000 to 1,200 people here. So it's a really good crowd, not as big as last year's conference, which I think I'm grateful for, because it's big enough that like literally so many people are here and there's plenty of vendors and everyone to talk to, but it's not 2,000, 3,000 people. I think last year they had closer to 2,000, and I heard that it was really hard to get in and talk to anybody because it was just a lot of traffic. So I think this year has been a good size. I think it will probably grow. I definitely think from what I've seen so far, sorry, I keep having to like swallow, living in we're in dryness here. What I've seen so far, I think every presentation I've been to has been excellent. Every vendor opportunity has been excellent. The networking opportunities have been so good. There's been great coffee in the mornings for free, which is always a plus. Not all conferences give you that. And so far, I would definitely say whether you are not yet published and looking to publish, or you're published and finding success, this would be a great conference to come through. If you're an indie author at any level, I really would highly recommend this one. But there were fun things happening in conversations yesterday that were really exciting. So Joe spoke in the morning. Then after that, Drew Davis spoke, and I think I mentioned this yesterday, it was probably the best presentation I think I've ever seen in my life. And it was all about hooking your readers by basically this idea of introducing a mystery, which doesn't really mean a mystery, but introducing a question that your reader wants to know the answer to. And then how long can you build the tension before you reveal the answer, the truth of it. And he had some incredible demonstrations of this, and then was talking about how basically we're living in an attention economy where the main name of the game is how do I get people's attention when we talk about selling books or doing courses or having a YouTube channel or Instagram or TikTok. Time is the most valuable commodity. And this isn't everything he said. This is like my thoughts on what he said, but time is the most valuable commodity. And it's the most valuable, precious resource that we all have that we can never get back, right? And of course, with HB90 and productivity, we talk about time here on this channel all the time because it's impossible to do everything we want to do and not burn ourselves out. Like, we just can't do all the things. And our readers, our viewers are the same. And so we have to really give them a reason to want to buy our book. Like putting a link up on a Facebook page and just saying, my book is now available, doesn't really make them stop the scroll and go buy it unless they're already invested in us and they already know us. But if we're trying to really convince readers and we're trying to market to readers, we have to think about this attention gap between what they know and what they want to know. And it was really, really brilliant. I felt like the way that he presented it by saying, like, you try to introduce a question as early as you can, like a hook that they want to know the answer to, and then you build tension until finally you give a payoff, you give a reveal of it. And obviously I can't describe it exactly the way he did in just a handful of minutes, but it was really, really good. And it got me thinking a lot about TikTok strategy, because I have not been on TikTok. I've been avoiding it, I think, for how many years? How long has TikTok been around? Like 5 years? I don't know. I've been avoiding it the entire time that it's been growing. And I understand that it's a powerful platform to sell books on. But I also feel like when I first went to look at TikTok, obviously you all know because you're here on my YouTube channel, I prefer long form content. I'm better at long form content than short form content because I can just sit down and talk for 30 minutes and that's easy for me. But having to script out a really juicy, like 15-second piece of content and make it worthwhile has been challenging for me. It's not natural to how my brain works. And then when I would go to look at TikTok, the natural thing I wanted to do is hit the back button. If I don't want to see this particular thing, I want to go to the back button and I want it to be calm where I can choose the next thing I'm going to watch. But that's not the way it works on TikTok. You hit the back button, it shows you somebody else's thing. You hit the back button and something else is going, and it'll just loop and loop and loop. And I know Instagram is a lot like that now too, and so are YouTube Shorts and a lot of other shorts content. But back in 2020 or whatever, when I first looked at TikTok, it kind of added some stress to my life of that, like going back and seeing something play over and over again and not feeling like I know how to get it to stop playing something. So I didn't really get into it very much, but I have been paying more attention to some like book talk content. And I think now that there is some long form stuff and now that I understand how it works and like how to use the platform, I'm a lot more comfortable there, but I still haven't posted yet. But I do feel like as a YA author, a lot of my, like we always talk about go where your readers are naturally. And I think a lot of my young adult readers are on TikTok. And so it would be important for me to be there with my books, if not as Heart Breathings, definitely with my books. And I had made an account on TikTok years ago, and I have over 1,000 subscribers or followers or whatever you say there, but I haven't posted yet. So I've been thinking about that. And anyway, long story about Drew Davis, but his speech talking about the idea of building that tension. And I thought, well, that's why people have loved The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw, because I introduced the mystery in the title of the book, basically like what happened to Vanessa, and she disappears in the first chapter, and then the entire book is all about building tension, and it's like tension, reveal, tension, reveal, tension, reveal, until finally the big payoff at the end. And part of the challenge of writing a mystery like that is the payoff at the end, as this is something Drew says, is the payoff at the end needs to be in proportion to the amount of tension that you've built throughout. So if you have a lot of tension over a long period of time, it's got to be a really good payoff. And that was one of my biggest concerns about writing a mystery, and why it took me so long to craft it, is because I wanted that ending to feel exciting and for that payoff to be like, oh my gosh, I should have seen that all along, or whatever. So hopefully I pulled that off. So many good reviews. So that feels good. If you haven't read it yet, go pick up my new book, The Disappearance of Vanessa Shaw. I have the links down below. But I was thinking about that in terms of TikTok strategy, in terms of promoting my books, because I feel like a lot of the times I do just say, my book is now available, go get it. And there's probably stronger ways that I could use to entice people to check out my books. And I just haven't been on the marketing train the way that I could be, and I'm looking forward to amplifying that. So those are just some thoughts from that first presentation. And then after that, I spent a little bit of time talking to a mentor of mine from the subscription for authors course that I took earlier this year. His name is David Viergutz, and he writes horror, and he has this membership similar to my Broken Chapter Society that was called like the Nightmare Writers, and that was really cool. But now he's doing something called Scare Mail, which is a year-long story experience that comes to you in physical mail, and it's so cool. Like, I'm very into new and innovative ways to share stories with readers, and I'm doing my own membership over on my Sarra Cannon channel, and it just inspired me a lot, that one short conversation with David. So then I met with him again today, and then I gave my presentation. So my presentation was on game board strategy, which is basically what we're talking about in your Path Forward course, which again will run live with new updates and new workbooks and stuff like that in December, so be on the lookout for that. But I gave a short presentation, and sometimes my greatest fears when I am at a conference speaking is like, what if nobody shows up? But the room was packed and there were some people standing at the back, and so that made me feel a lot better. All the tech ran smoothly. I feel like I nailed it in terms of the timing, and we had a little bit of time for questions, which is rare for me. And I've had a lot of really good feedback. And in fact, people are already rating. So they give you a link in the app for this conference where you can rate the presenters. And so far, mine is looking really good. I can't actually see it, but the coordinators here told me that my ratings are really good. So if you are here and you're watching this, thank you so much for rating my presentation really good. I feel like it went super well, and I felt so relieved when it was done. I have another one coming up tomorrow talking about the path back to joy for people who are feeling burned out or just aren't loving your writing anymore. So that one's going to be really emotional, I think, for some people. But then spent some time, I'm trying to think all the trajectory, spent some time again talking to different vendors and different friends. And then I went to lunch at Alexa's in Paris, in Paris, which is a really fancy, nice restaurant. And that was really fun. I got to hang out with my friend Jillian Dodd. Some of you may know her. She writes the I think it's Eastbrook Academy series and the Keaton Chronicles. She has some amazing young adult contemporary romance books, and she's an incredible businesswoman, and she's so fun to be around. And I was lucky enough, she lives in Texas, and I was lucky enough to make friends with her earlier this year. So she invited me to a lunch, and so I got to hang out with Dan from Draft Digital and some other amazing authors. And so that was really fun. And then I also got to meet up with dun, 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 dun. Can you see that? Is it backwards? Google. Look at how pretty this pen is, y'all. It matches my, I don't think I have it readily available, but I have my planner back here. It matches my Erin Condren planner. So look how pretty the Google pen. And it's not a ballpoint pen, it's a gel pen, which makes me happy. So I wish they gave me 3. So I got a cool Google pen, and you know, Google is not at every conference. They don't always go to conferences. So it was really neat to get a chance to talk to Google about giving feedback on how to improve their app, things from the author's perspective that we would really like to see, and just kind of hearing about what's up and coming. That was really fun. And then I also got a chance to meet a lot of people from the Audible Creation Exchange group throughout the conference, and they were really fun to talk to. So I feel like this is why it's kind of reminding me of those old school RWA conferences, because there's just such a collection of all the major vendors here. I really wish Apple was here. So unfortunately, do not see them, but it was fun to see Google, fun to see Audible. And then last night, KDP had a drinks mixer that was over at the Cosmopolitan. It took us legitimately 30 minutes, I think, to walk over there, because the Formula One races are going to be racing down the strip next week. Let me know in the comments if you're a Formula One fan. I don't really know a lot about Formula One, but I heard a podcast with Charles Leclerc earlier this year, and I was fascinated by the amount of like sportsmanship and precision and athleticism and mental acuity that goes into Formula One racing. Like, it's dangerous, and it's so, like, you have to be so precise and so trained. And so that was really interesting. So that is next week. So they've already started building these sort of like grandstands for people to watch. So when we were trying to walk from the Horseshoe to the Bellagio and then over to the Cosmopolitan, we kept hitting these barriers where there was no walking. So it took us a long time to get over there, but it was so much fun. And I ended up talking to the KDP team, the Amazon Ads team, the Audible Creation Exchange team. I got to see a really good old friend of mine named Robert Crane. Some of you may know him, I'm not sure, but he writes a really, really long, like I'm talking 50 something book long series called Girl in the Box. And then now he has a series called, I believe, Girl Out of the Box. He also wrote some fantasy books. And we were OG friends. Like I think we met on K boards back in 2011 and we're super close friends, like talked every single day with a small group of other authors, many of whom are not even writing anymore. So it was just crazy. I was walking down the hallway and I just hear Sarra Cannon and I turn around. It's like, oh my gosh, here's this friend that I had like talked to every day for legitimately like 4 or 5 years every day. And we got to meet one time, I think in 2015 at RWA conference in New York. If any of you remember which year that was, let me know. And I haven't seen him since. And we just have fell out of touch. So it was really cool to see him there. So yeah, I know I'm rambling, but that was fun. And then my friend Russell Noti, who runs Writer MBA with Monica Leonel, and they do the Future Publishing Mastermind and conference coming up in New Orleans next year. He asked me to go with him and Oriana from Kickstarter. So Oriana is the head of the publishing arm of Kickstarter. So she's the one who helps authors get their campaign set up for special editions and all of that. I've met her before and we've interacted in email, and she is such a cool person. Like I adore her. So if you have a Kickstarter that you're going to run, be sure that you can reach out to Oriana. I know if you're in the Kickstarter for Authors group, you can find her in there or you can get her contact information there, and she will look over your campaign for you and give you feedback and help you make it more successful. She's an incredible human. So we went to the art museum over at the Cosmopolitan, and it's Art, A-R-T-E. It's an interactive, like, art installation. I don't know how else to describe it. I did get some footage of that, so you guys will see it in my Vegas vlog, but it was like lanterns hanging from a ceiling that you could walk around, and because the walls are mirrored, it looks like the lanterns just go on for eternity. Like we legitimately laid down in that room and just talked for 30 minutes. It was so fun. It was so peaceful and beautiful, and there were like forests and flowers falling, and there was one room that had a giant tsunami looking wave that would just come at you over and over, but then it would look like it hits a glass wall before it falls over you. And so we sat like right where the wave was coming in, and it almost feels like takes your breath away. It was so neat. And then there was one big hall that had art on screens that was from like Van Gogh, and it would be dancing around, and then Degas and Monet and Manet and Cezanne, and just these amazing art on the walls. And then at the very end, we got Boba Tea, and I'll show you in the videos, but it was like your cup, some kind of light from the top was following your cup around, and it had like a little moon inside your cup. Like it looked like it was inside your drink, but it was light coming down. It was super cool. And I think by the end of the day, I had walked over 15,000 steps. So my little toesies were hurting. And we didn't stay out super late, but because it's 2 hours earlier here, it feels really late to me. So I got back in to the room maybe around 9 or 9:30 Vegas time. And I got a little bit of writing in. So I didn't do much. I did 532 words. But honestly, for somebody who never writes at conferences, I feel really proud of myself that I made a little bit of time. I literally only spent 30 minutes. I sat down, I wrote a piece of a chapter. I'm still working on that very first note card, but it's progress. And I feel like I am so pumped about the future. And I'll share with you tomorrow some of the meetings I had today, which were, I mean, can you tell I'm smiling from ear to ear? I think somewhere along the way, I lost sight of how much fun this career could really be because I was just too busy. And even though I was preaching to everybody, not really preaching, but time management is obviously something I talk about a lot, and I teach in HB 90, but it's not always easy in every season of our lives to release that. And even somebody who teaches it, it's still a struggle for me to put less on my plate and to let go of projects so that I can have more space, because I feel like there's so much I want to accomplish. But the more we put on our shoulders, sometimes the more we just drain the energy from ourselves. And I feel like this was the perfect conference to come to late in the year, because we're about to do all that 2025 planning, and it's got me so pumped up because I'm remembering. And honestly, I think part of the reason that it feels this way is because I finally released a book and it's doing well. And a lot of people here are talking about it. Several people here are reading it and talking about how much they loved it. Or it's felt so good to be back in publishing again and not just teaching. I love them both, and I've been wanting for a long time to find that balance, to marry the two of writing still, but also teaching and doing YouTube. And I feel like I haven't perfected the balance yet. It's going to be a rolling, continual learning experience, but it just feels fun again. And I'm happier than I have been in a really long time. And it just feels good. So it has been fun to read your comments where you can tell that I'm happy and that you guys are cheering me on. It means a lot that this community is behind me, and I just love you guys. So for anybody that's here, I did talk to a few of you earlier today, so thanks for coming up and introducing yourself and saying hello if you're here. I'm still here till Saturday, so keep coming in and saying hello. I'll be speaking tomorrow at 11 a.m. about the path back to joy, so I'll see some of you there. Otherwise, I'm literally in 10 minutes going downstairs to meet Steph Green, and we're going to go to the Fremont experience, and we're going to a speakeasy. So it's lots of fun. I feel like I've been smiling from ear to ear for days on end, and it just feels good. So thanks for listening to my Chatty updates and for being here. I'm really sorry that we don't have actual vlogs, but like I said, we'll get back to that when I get back next week and for the last couple of weeks of the Rough Draft Challenge. Thanks for updating me with how your progress is going so far. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow for another Chatty update. This one was definitely longer because I guess I felt super chatty. So yeah, I'll see you all tomorrow. I love you. I adore you. And yeah, thanks for being here. Bye, everybody.